Hello, team. Today we are going to be talking about ending self-sabotage. So far we've worked through the abundance wheel. We have worked through manifesting, designing, and implementing your dream life. So everything that you want and everything that you need in this life. But today we're going to talk about ending the self-sabotage so that you can set yourself up for success to actually achieve the things that you want in your life. Because a lot of the times it is not external factors that say no to us, that don't allow us. It is not external factors that inhibit us from achieving our dreams and our goals. A lot of the times it is us. We are the reason that we're not getting the things that we want. We get in our own way. So ending self-sabotage is essential as well as important if you are wanting to create more for yourself in any form or fashion of the word of abundance. So to start, let's talk about what exactly self-sabotage is. So a lot of the times we have self-destructive behaviors really that have become habits for us. So we probably don't even know that we're doing them. So a lot of the times we allow these behaviors to continually undermine our success and happiness, but we may not even know that we're doing it. So self-sabotage is basically when we do something that gets in the way of our intent or our bigger dreams and goals. So we want something, we want to accomplish it, but we don't know how, and maybe we never accomplish it. So sometimes the not knowing is the issue, and sometimes it's just you haven't done the things that you need to do to get there. So because somewhere in subconscious mind, we end up fighting against some of these goals. So your subconscious probably sees self-sabotage as self-preservation. So this is a big flip of the switch we need to work on. A lot of the times we're self-sabotaging, but really we think we're helping ourselves out. We're almost safeguarding or defending ourselves, or maybe our younger self is trying to defend our older self, getting into some childhood traumas. But basically, sometimes we just miss it, whether we've created a habit of some of these self-destructive patterns, but we miss it. We miss that we're actually hurting ourselves. So we don't see how, if it's a disorganization, if it's a snoozing, if it's not making decisions, if it's overthinking decisions, but basically they leave us paralyzed, and then they leave us with no action. So we realize that our reactions to situations end up causing a bigger problem because we are reacting and we are not responding. So the biggest piece of advice I can give you here to learn how to respond in lieu of reacting is to slow down. You have to learn how to recognize when you react. Why are you reacting? And it's almost like that question that you'll hear therapists say a lot, like, what is the story I'm making up in my head? Basically, what is your truth that you've said because X, Y, and Z has just happened to you, or because X, Y, and Z has not happened to you? What truth have you come to in your head that you've somehow, your ego or you have identified with, that is no longer allowing you to take the action steps, to take the put pieces in motion to actually get the goals and the things that you actually want to create and manifest for your life? So sometimes this looks like spending money and then feeling guilty right after, being told no. That's always my favorite, being told no, and then throwing yourself a freaking pity party, or getting angry, decreasing your self-worth just because somebody has said no to you, and maybe not even in the nicest way. But what you will realize is that somebody's opinions, somebody saying no, has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their self-sabotaging, with them, with the stories that they've come up with in their head. So the reason why they don't like the job that you're trying to build as an entrepreneur, they don't support you in entrepreneurship. Maybe they just don't support you, period. Maybe they think you're a bad spouse, parent, mother, whatever. The biggest thing is their feelings, sensations, and actions have nothing to do with you. So start to dissociate from that, because they're responding from their life. They're responding from their actions. They're responding from their past childhood trauma, and not from the adults that they are. So keep that in mind as well. But basically, a lot of the times we're our own worst enemy. So recognize when you start having this negative self-talk, how can you stop it? First of all, excuse me, how can you recognize that it's even happening so that you can have the intention to stop it? Because it is a practice. And the next time, like if you're trying to be impeccable with your words and you're on the road and you're stuck in traffic and you start cussing out the person in front of you, the biggest piece of advice I can tell you is to pause and stop and forgive yourself. Say, I recognize that I'm lashing out. I recognize I'm not being impeccable with my words. So, Gab, I apologize. Person in front of me driving like a lunatic, I apologize. And I wouldn't even call them a lunatic. That's even too much. I would apologize for calling them a lunatic, and then I would apologize for lashing out and not being impeccable with my words. And then send yourself grace and give yourself love and know that you can move on. And you don't have to just live in your guilt about this. You can move on right then and there. So the biggest question I have for you as far as that goes is, when you get into a fight with somebody, a friend, a spouse, a partner, a child, a mother, a father, whoever, are you the one holding the grudge? And if you are, I want to ask you why. Because we want to send love. We want to feel love. And the best way to feel love is to put out more love, because what you put out into the world is going to come back at you tenfold. So if you are negative self-talking, if you are throwing a temper tantrum, if you're having a pity party, if you're cussing out the person in front of you in traffic, in line at the grocery store, wherever, if that's not how you want to be treated, right? It goes back to childhood. Treat others how you want to be treated. But it's more than that. It's the energy around that. You want to feel love. You want to be accepted. You want to feel worthy and whole and perfect and all of these beautiful, positive things. Well, guess what you need to put out? Beautiful, positive freaking things. So, positive self-talk, number one, it starts between your ears. You need to be your own best friend. And I'm sorry for the tough love, but I am not sorry. You need to be your own best friend. How can you expect anybody else to love you if you don't love yourself? And I don't mean that you don't need social love to feel fully loved. You do need romantic love, social love. You need the abundance wheel. You need to feel love in all of those categories to feel fulfilled. But in order to receive more love, you have to give more love. And it starts with the positive self-talk, which happens right in here. My first challenge for you, you need to be your own best friend. What does that look like for you? How does that feel for you? What do you need to do in order to flip the script? And it looks a lot like stopping reacting and start responding. So when you find yourself in these loop patterns and you find yourself, you and your spouse keep getting in fight after fight after fight, and it ends up with you going to the bedroom to pout and be by yourself, and he's on the couch pouting by himself, how long does that last for? And then what's going on in your mind while that's going on? Are you sitting there, and this could be a fight with anybody, it doesn't need to be a spouse, but are you in your mind saying they need to come apologize, they did this, that, and that, they. What about you? All you can do is control your actions and your behaviors. You don't need them to come apologize to you. If you feel like you need an apology, go apologize. What you put out will come back. I'm not saying that they're going to apologize to you, but how much better are you going to feel if they do? How much better are you going to feel if you can stop the script so you guys can come back to love much quicker? Same thing with parents, same thing with girlfriends, same thing with spouses, same thing with children, even as they get older. And they actually have a choice whether they like you or not. But knowing that it is a practice, and offering yourself the grace around that is going to be everything everybody needs, but definitely will help flip the script to start ending self-sabotage. Yeah, but basically it also looks like procrastination. So when you're running out of the house, you start missing flights, you forget your phone, you have anxiety about this, that, and the other thing. And then you have anxiety about leaving your hair straightener on, right? Because you've been rushing around. Maybe you need to offer yourself more prep time. So a lot of self-sabotage looks like us being anxious and overwhelmed and stressed out because we haven't allowed ourselves the time to prep. We haven't honored what we need to feel fulfilled, which for a lot of us looks like getting up just a little bit earlier. Maybe you need to set your phone on the other side of the room, right? So setting yourself up for success so you can reduce the stress, reduce the anxiety, and reduce the things that haven't even come up yet. But if you can prep yourself enough, whatever that looks like. If you're going on a trip, making sure your kids are packed first, making sure your husband's got his packing done so that when it's time to actually go, there's not much to worry about. For me, this looks like I keep a $20 bill in my car. Why? Because I've forgotten my wallet more than once. And now I keep the $20 in there so I know I can at least get half a tank-ish of gas, depending on where you live. But you can get a little bit of gas. You can grab a coffee. You can get some snacks, whatever you need. There's 20 bucks in there. So the next time you forget your wallet, it is not the end of the world. You have $20. You can buy whatever you want. So it's almost setting yourself up for success so you can avoid some of the stresses in the long run. Think of stress. Think about stress. How does it show up in your life? Where does it show up for you in your life? A lot of the times we get stressed out because we're not living in the moment. We're living in these in-betweens. So basically, the best thing I can tell you about stress is that a lot of the times we get stressed out because we're living in this ego land. And I'm not talking about ego land in the sense of thinking you are the most beautiful and this, that, and the other thing. I'm talking about ego land just in the sense of you're only taking consideration your own thoughts and your actions. So a lot of the times in ego land, you've started to identify with certain thought patterns or belief systems or what have you. Perfect example is politics. This is the only time I will ever talk about politics. But basically, if you've said something is right or something is wrong, I identify as a Republican, I identify as a Democrat. You've almost taken all of the things in their belief systems, the Republicans versus the Democrat, and you've identified with that. That is what I call ego. So again, it's not really narcissistic. It is just identifying with something that really isn't you. You can't identify as a Republican. You can't identify as a Democrat. You are your own being. And you might have some of these thoughts, you might believe in certain things, but you start to actually identify with them to the point of when somebody disagrees with you, you take it as a personal attack on your person. Right? They are wrong for believing X, Y, and Z, or you are right, and which makes them wrong. So basically, your ego is going to lash out on them, and it's going to obviously cause hurtful harm. But that's why we get hurt, and that's why we get stressed out, because we take it as a stab to us personally. Just because somebody disagrees with us or our belief systems, but that's not you. That is a 100% your ego, right? And if you want to go super woo-woo, like, you are love, period. You are energy. You're not an idea system. You're not patterns. You're not even the things you believe in, right? Those things just are. There's no right and there's no wrong. Our belief systems, our parents have created this right and wrong system, good versus evil, in our beings. And we've started to identify with these certain things. In certain religions, they're not allowed to touch dogs. And in my household, we have a dog as a pet. She basically sleeps in our bed with us. So again, it's not right versus wrong. I'm not right for letting my dog sleep in my bed. I'm not right for owning a dog. And he's not wrong for not wanting a dog. He's not wrong for not even wanting to touch a dog, right? I might not trust him. We don't talk about that. But basically, you then cause this hurtful harm on yourself, and you've put up these barriers between you and somebody else, when we all know we are all one. We are one level of consciousness. We are all in this together, right? We need each other, and we need the other belief systems. If you guys are familiar with the Enneagram, right? There's 1 through 9, and really there's supposedly 27. Let's leave that aside. But basically I'm a 2. I'm a helper. But if the world was filled with 2s, all you would do is be helping other people out. We need the 6s who are overly cautious to help maybe remind us that not everything is safe. Not everyone is safe, and I can't trust everyone. We need the 1s to be a little bit more inward and kind of hermity, so that we can be reminded that maybe it's time to go inside. Maybe it's time to look within. We need the 7s who have all of the ideas. And we need the 9s who are the perfectionists. We need them to hold the peace, the peacemakers. So again, it's not about being right versus wrong. It's knowing that we can all cohabitate together and we can all live this beautiful, successful life without getting our feelings hurt so much, therefore decreasing the stress that we actually feel. A big helper in helping you decrease your stress, decrease your anxiety, to decrease your self-sabotage is to make a to-do list. This can be on your phone. Trello is a really cool app. Haven't been able to get into it, but I am a pen and paper kind of girl myself. But with that being said, make to-do lists, prioritize them, leave the shit out that you don't need. But then you can also think about block scheduling. So if you think about your calendar, you can block out, if you have to go pick up the kids and do this and the other thing, you can block out the time for travel, but then self-care time, block that in. All the things that you find on your to-do list, block those in, and then you can see, is this really important? Have I been not getting this done for long enough? So knowing that to-do list can be a beautiful, beautiful friend of yours and can help keep you on track. And then I call it block scheduling, but basically you take a chunk of time during the day, if it's going to take you an hour to film this video for you guys. So I would take that time, I chunk it out, and I block it out because I know, number one, it's important and I need to get it done. I need to get it done by a certain time. So I make sure that that gets done so I can decrease the anxiety, and therefore I don't forget, therefore decreasing the anxiety even more, because if I did forget, gosh, the world might be over. So again, things that you can do: put $20 in your car, have a to-do list, setting boundaries and goals. So I have this boundary scale. Really, it's just the things that are important in your life. So from a scale of 0 to 5, 0 is you don't really care about it. It's not really important to you. It's, you don't identify with it. It doesn't live in your ego. It's not important. And a 5 is, no, this goes against my moral compass, against my moral code. This is super important to me, whether you need something a certain way or you need food a certain way, right? If you're vegan, not eating animal products is a 5 for you, right? So again, just an example, but basically in every relationship that you have in your life, everyone's going to have a different number scale. So from a 0 to 5, perfect example, when you're planning a trip somewhere. For me, I am spontaneous. So having an actual plan, putting things on paper, buying train tickets, all of that is a 0 to a 1 for me. I don't care. I'm going to be exactly where I need to be at the perfect time, and I'm going to experience the experiences that I meant to experience, that God has planned for me, because I know place and time, and I'm living in the present moment. Whereas my counterpart is not that same way. He needs to know exactly the date, the time, and it needs to be booked out far enough in advance so he can let everybody know, so he can have all his ducks in line, so he can be super strategic about when everything is happening. And so I know that about him. That is a 4 or a 5 to him, definitely closer to the 5 side, just depending. Sometimes he's a little bit more spontaneous. But the biggest piece of advice here is that you need to let some shit go. Let it go. Why? Because it doesn't matter to you. So why would you create more stress and tension in your relationship? If something is a 5 and this works in any relationship, if something is a 5 for somebody else and it's a 0 for you, what are you really giving up by letting that go? What are you really sacrificing? Because you don't care. If it was a 5 for you to be spontaneous, now we have something else to talk about. So that can be later. But basically, meet people where they're at. Number one, it's going to decrease the stress that you're causing other people, which therefore decreases your stress, because again, what you put out comes back to you. So if they're reverbing stress to you, you're going to absorb that, and then you're going to start having stressful interactions with them. So knowing when you can compromise, working out compromising, and that goes back way back to communication, period. But knowing when to let shit go, because not everything is going to be a 5 for you. And if it is, that's a different conversation. Book a private call with me. We got to talk about that. But basically knowing what's a 5, what's a 0, and meeting people in the middle. Every relationship you have, you can kind of work through. You can work through this, and it's fun and it's awesome. And it really also shows you a lot about yourself, what you really care about. This will help I start to identify some of your past traumas. This will help you start to identify pardon me, the things that are important to you, and the things that, why is this even causing you a stress if you don't really care about it? So again, just a different way to see different situations. There's no right and there's no wrong. I'm just offering pieces of advice for you guys. The last little bit, know that you are worthy. You are worthy of success. You are worthy of letting go of your limiting belief patterns. You are worthy of ending your self-sabotage by believing that you are enough. So identifying in your life when you felt not good enough. Identifying in your life when you were called wrong. Again, there's no right and there's no wrong. But who in your life taught you that you're never right? Where in your life did you learn that you're not enough? Where in your life did you learn that you were unworthy of these certain things that you want? Because you are worthy. And if you want it enough, and this is a dream of yours, let's make it a goal. The difference between a dream and a goal is spiritually aligned action steps. So creating those dreams that you have and knowing that you are worthy of them. Proving yourself right, identifying in your life when you have proved yourself right, because we all are going to fail. We all will have fear thrust upon us or slowly sneak in upon us. And it is not about not having fear, because fear keeps us safe. It is about being fearful enough to keep us safe, but with enough of that fear, using that fear rather as a motivator. So you can go after your goals. So you can start to take spiritually aligned action steps, knowing that you still might fail, but trusting the process nonetheless. Positive self-talk is the best piece of advice, right? It all happens between the ears. Positive self-talk. I will say it again and again and again. You need to be your own best friend, because you are worthy, you are whole, and you are perfect. You need to identify where in your life you learned this otherwise, because you are, and you are worthy of all of the things that you dream and desire in your life. Let's make them happen. But you need to be your own best friend to make any of that happen. So recognizing, again, it is a practice. Recognizing when in your life these negative self-talk starts to come up. Putting a stop to it. Knowing that it is a practice. So offer yourself all of the grace in the world, because by golly, you will absolutely offer your girlfriends this grace. You will offer your boyfriend that you've gotten back with 6 times this grace. Right? You will offer your parents, your children this grace. So offer your damn self the same grace that you're offering everybody else. You're not perfect, but what's wrong with being perfectly imperfect, right? Nothing in our lives is perfect. Nobody has ever taught you that it needs to be. And if they have, that is you need to do a ton of unlearning there, right? There's so many perfectionists out there, and I know a bunch of you guys are. So knowing that there is a time and a place to ask for perfectionism, but it is not in life. It might be on a pretty little spreadsheet, but knowing that you are going to still make mistakes, and offering yourself the grace to stand back up after you've fallen down. right? But then also think about the abundance wheel. Set yourself up for success, right? So thinking about where in your life are you kind of living lower, what can be boosted up easily boosted so you feel more fulfilled. So the negative self-talk just gets taken down just a little extra step and a little extra step and a little extra step. Also looks like surrounding yourself with people who do believe in you, people who want to see you thrive, people who want to support you, right? Because if somebody else in the room wants it more than you, it might help push you a little bit. With that being said, you gotta want it most for yourself more than anybody else. But you definitely can start relying on other people to kind of help build you up. So making sure you have a really good support system is beautiful and wonderful. But knowing that you need to be your own best friend. So your homework is to think about all of your past stories and how have you identified with them in the past and really what started them. So for me, this looks like writing out your whole story. Basically from birth, what do you remember? What are the big highlighting points, right? I'm the middle child. So for me, I never felt heard. And this was a truth of mine for a really long time because I never felt heard, because I was the middle child and I was a tomboy and all of that, but I was loud. I was big movements. I still am such a ham. But there is a time and there is a place, and I don't need to identify with just being big and loud, right? I can identify with being me, and that's my personality. But knowing now as an adult, I can reel it in sometimes. I don't need to be big, loud, ham all the time, although a lot of the times it is fun. But knowing for me, then asking, oh, is somebody mad at me? Have I caused stress for somebody else? Because again, I am a 2. So I never feel heard. I'm the middle child. I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I'm big and boisterous. And so when I'm feeling unheard, I feel not worthy, and definitely I feel unheard. And that you will hear me say, if we're talking true, I probably, in arguments, I will tell you I feel unheard. With romantic partnerships, with my sisters, with a lot of family. That is probably my story. I would say, I feel unheard. I feel unheard. I feel unheard. Well, how can I feel more heard? And what this looks like for me is sitting in meditation and listening to myself. And really, what am I trying to say? Because at the end of the day, you're not your story. And at the end of the day, it is time to move on past your story so that you can start living the life that you want to live. And you can start taking action on these dreams and these goals that you have for yourself so that you can actually start to see some forward progress. Write out your story. Find the truth that no longer serves you, right? I am heard. I am heard. I'm here. You're listening. It's perfect. So identifying your story, but with the ability to then let it go, because you are not your story. You are not your child. Excuse me. Yeah, you're not your child either, but you're not who you were when you were a child. You are no longer that person. And for me, I was really sensitive as a kid. I write letters to little baby Gab. This doesn't serve you, right? Being so sensitive, it saved you. And thank you so much. Thank you for teaching me that. But now, as an adult Gab, I don't identify with that anymore. And because I don't identify with that anymore, I am able to step into my power, into my power shoes, and I am able to stand here before you today and tell you, I can take it. I can wear it. And I am a stronger person because of it. So honoring your story, accepting your story with the intention to let it go and don't identify with it anymore. Nothing is right. Nothing is wrong. Be your own best friend. Notice the thought patterns in your head so that you can stop all of the negative self-talk. Set yourself up for success when you need to, where you need to, knowing the biggest stresses in your life and how can you prep just a little bit better so you can start avoiding the stresses in your life. Thank you guys so much. Good luck ending your self-sabotage, and I'll see you here in just a little bit.